dialed in to Bucks and Brews, you might hear something you can use. Like tips on your cash or tips on the suds. You're gonna want to use the smarts of these stuff. Cause they know the brews, and they know the Bucks, and they know they can't help the stubborn fucks. So listen up, cause shit's not funny. And save yourself some beer money. Bucks and Brews.
Bucks and
Bucks and Brews.
Bucks and Brews. Recording is in progress. Hello, welcome back to Bucks and Brews. It's been a couple weeks, but we are back.
It has only been a couple weeks this
Only a
time,
couple
not
weeks.
like months this time.
I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, it's only been a couple days because I just got that up like 2 days ago.
There you go.
Because softball season, I'm ultra busy.
Right.
Let's
say summer, nice weather. I'm ultra busy.
So before I introduce our guest, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go ahead, my friend.
All right. I am drinking Adesanya mead over there in Granville. Great guys, Mike and Sawyer. So I'm drinking Thought Process, carbonated raspberry and lemon mead. I am drinking Fat Beats, again, carbonated black currant and blackberry mead. And Real Freaks, which is blueberry and pomegranate mead. I enjoy meads, and then it's really what I love about them is they do carbonated, and so it kind of adds a little bubble to it, brings your, so the alcohol content's not as much as the wine aspect. It's just a really fun drink to me.
So
Yeah,
I am partially sponsored this week.
Nice.
A third of my beers have been sponsored by a guy that just had a birthday, Mr. Michael Benson.
Mike, happy birthday.
He brought me a Samuel Smith's Organic Chocolate Stout.
Nice.
Which is by far the best chocolate beer
Really
ever made. Oh, absolutely. Have you not had?
No.
Have a taste,
Cheers.
my friend.
I was excited. I was at Adesanya picking up these beers or these meads,
Yeah.
and they have a peanut butter porter on tap.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was like, oh,
They're talking to us.
Just hands down, wow! Like right off the get go,
excellent.
Fantastic.
And by the way,
Organic. Yeah, which is wow.
Isn't that good?
That's really awesome.
That is my favorite stout.
I've never had a chocolate stout like that.
It's
That is
so good.
Mike, thank you. Like that blew my brains, blew my taste buds. Like
we had a porter from them. Do you remember what the porter was called, Mike, or was it just?
I don't remember. I know it was like a honey porter or something like that. I'd have to look. They had that at
Smith's has a porter, and it is delicious.
They had that
but it is not
at Beer
that good.
City too. I just didn't pick that up.
no, that's great. I'm gonna have to find that.
So when I get done with that, I got from Eyinger Brewery a Celebrator, finest Bavarian Double Bock.
I love box.
And then I have from Grand Armory Blurred Limes.
There we go.
So,
Let's say.
Mike, what do you got, my friend?
Well, I guess I sponsored myself and I sponsored you. I too am finishing the last of my organic chocolate stouts from Samuel Smith. After that, I've got it's Brewery Vivant. It's a straw barb, so it ends up being strawberry rhubarb sour. So maybe it's supposed to be a delicious blend of fruited farmhouse ale and sour ale. They call this little sub brand Unapologetic Fruit, but it is Brewery Vivant.
So, to introduce our special guest, my one of my oldest and dearest friends, Professor David Seawick. I know what he's drinking. It's his preferred beverage of choice when he joins Bucks and Brews. What is it, my friend?
As always, a coffee cup of City of Lansing tap water. Taken from the tap only moments ago.
All right. Fresh tap.
Thank you, City of Lansing people, for having good, clean water.
Yes.
Right.
So I got hit up end of last week.
Hit up, not hit on, right?
Hit up.
Just to be clear.
Just hit up by the professor here. He goes, hey, I'd like to come on Bucks and Brews sometime and talk about student debt and student loans and all that type of stuff. And would you guys be interested? And I said, well, fuck yeah, we'd be interested. We're always interested to have you on. So that's where we're headed tonight is student loan stuff. Very excited to have David with us. Caitlin asked me, she's like, so what are you talking about tonight? I said, we're talking student loans. She goes, yeah, got anybody? I said, yeah, the professor. And she goes, the professor. Because of course she's thinking the only professor she knows, Kyle Hendricks. Nope, not Kyle Hendricks. We have David Seawick. She goes, oh, that sounds like fun. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have fun.
Well, I like the warm welcome. So thank you.
Yeah, we love having you on. We were just talking baseball before we started because, of course, we're all big baseball fans here. And
I say we are all big, but I want to point out me because I like to take 2 seconds. I'm wearing your guys' let's say "Hate Has No Place Here" shirt, and then a good friend of mine actually. So my sponsorship for my hat, is say, it's from Human Rights Campaign, right? The equality symbol. Because I say I've been dealing with a few of my close family members and stuff that don't agree with that, and it's impacting my niece's life. And I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna go out here and wear as much as I can.
So at some point, either on air or off, we need to talk about the end of our last episode when we got off the air.
Okay.
I knew you would be totally clueless to this. So do you remember the conversation I had with a couple of my staff members?
Hey, they started it.
Hey, they were really pissed off at you to the point that Dawn called me and she goes, what the fuck did Nick say? Because Ashley and Sam are fucking pissed. Ashley said she will not be here if Nick is here.
Say, all I know is say it was a conversation. And the problem is this is what I always hate, right? People that can't hold an educated conversation. I try to assume that you and I hold an educated conversation, right? We don't agree upon a lot of shit. We're not going to agree tonight, right? This is not going to happen. And this girl, all she kept saying, you don't want to fight with me. You don't want to. And I was like, you're right. I don't want to fight with you. I want to give you my opinion. I want you to give me your opinion, right? And she's like, oh, I do this. I know so many people. And I'm just like, okay, this conversation isn't going to happen. Cool, great. Like, have your opinion and just hold it to yourself. But like, don't sit here and blame me because my opinion is different than you, right? Like, to keep telling me that I don't want to have this. No, I do. I want it to be educational, right? Like, I want you to understand my side of things. I want to understand your side of things, right? Like,
well, maybe I'll get to the point where I can get her on here because mind you, very intelligent young lady. She's got
might be
2 masters.
There you go. Right.
So, and we both told her Nick can be an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Speaking of degrees, I don't think David knows this. I finally finished my fucking bachelor's. Not that I'm ever catching you do, but
that is absolutely great. I will give you a high five from 70 miles away in Lansing, and seriously, that is a very, very good accomplishment.
He knows the same number of degrees as me.
Yes, I've caught Mike.
Congrats.
I will never catch the professor, but I've caught Mike.
You guys.
I will never catch the professor either.
Well, no.
You guys all beat me.
Oh, there you go. So we'll keep our rank to ourselves, I suppose. But
Are you a doctor yet?
No,
just 15 masters and
yeah, getting there.
Yeah,
No.
good man.
What made me think of asking Dave about this topic, make sure my microphone's on, is I saw a couple things on social media over the last couple weeks, and I don't get on social media very often. I mean, I think it's, I don't know, mostly a waste of time, not entirely, and I get on it sometimes. And I had a couple of reasons to spend more time on it than usual, trying to keep up with some news with some friends of mine. And so I saw somebody put this thing on Facebook that was worded, so it was one of these silly memes. And the extent of the meme was, if you think that all student loan debt should be canceled, you're a communist for freeloaders. And so I scratched my head for a minute and I thought, well, nobody really knows what the word communist means anymore, so just forget about that. But freeloaders, I thought, well, I wonder if, so let's take for a minute and talk about student loan debt and the numbers. The numbers at first are eye-watering to look at. And then let's see who holds that debt. So, for example, it's a little bit less than half, but still close to half of all the veterans that go to college have a student loan debt. And that doesn't,
even though they get, in some cases,
Yeah,
GI
even though
Bill
they
and stuff
get
like
money
that.
from the GI Bill, they still have to borrow money to go to school. So are they freeloaders then? Because we'd be canceling their debt. What about nurses that go into COVID-19 wards and put intubation tubes down people's throats? They oftentimes incur a considerable amount of debt to go to college, as do the doctors that are overseeing those respiratory wards and everything else in the hospital. Those are actually the people that have the biggest holders of student debt, because medical school is really, really expensive. And a lot of people that are doctors are actually first or second generation college students. So they didn't come from super wealthy families. So are those freeloaders? What about the teachers that graduate on average, $35,000, $40,000 in student loan debt? Are they freeloaders when they go into public schools and teach, or private schools and teach? So then I thought, well, maybe part of the problem with understanding of student loan debt is people don't actually know, A, how it works, or B, what exactly it would mean for the government to write off part of the debt. And so if you don't mind, I brought some statistics with me.
I love numbers.
I had a professor in college who used to say there are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are statistics. So with that qualification in mind, we will engage in some very brief quantitative analysis right now. We'll say the qualitative part of it for a little bit. But how much money does the federal government loan to people to go to school? How does it loan the money? And how does it being the government, get it paid back? Well, the first answer to that question is the federal government this year, and I looked at this number up out of both the White House budget proposal from this year, and then the budget that Congress actually passed, and the amount of money that was allocated to the U.S. Department of Education, which is where federal student loans are dispersed through. And honestly, I was a little bit surprised at it. So this year, the federal government, the U.S. Department of Education is going to have about $100 billion to spend on student loans. And at first you might think, wow, that's a lot of money. But half of that money goes to paying the salaries of the people who administer the student loans and paying the private banks or loan servicing agencies that the federal government has contracted to service some of these loans. So half of the money allocated this year for the federal student loan program isn't actually being loaned to students. It's administrative costs. So then that gives us, so that gives us about $50 billion to play with that is going to be loaned to students. Now, the most recent statistics I could find were that cumulatively, over the last 10 years, the student loan debt held by the federal government, so that means Uncle Sam's money that he's loaned to you and me and everybody else, is gotten to about $800 billion. That's just in a 10-year period of time. And the grand total of money that the federal government has loaned out to people for student loans is now a little over $1.75 trillion. But that's spread out. Most of that loan money has been loaned over the last 20 years. And most student loans that have been dispersed do actually in some capacity get paid back. That's another interesting idea that people need to consider is, yes, there are a lot of student loans out there that are in forbearance, which is not forgiveness. Forbearance means your payments are paused. And I'm going to try not to overwhelm us with all these different aspects of the student loan program. I know a lot about it myself because I've worked in higher education for 16 years, and I am a holder of student loans myself from all the years I went to school. So, and I'm not at all bashful about saying that. It's a matter of fact, and I pay them back. And so I know a lot about the program. There's literally a dozen different ways through the federal student loans that the government has set up programs to loan people money. But to keep it simple, so right now we're looking at about 1.75. So let's say, shy of $2 trillion in student loan debt out there the federal government holds. Most of that's been accumulated over the last 20 years. So roughly, that breaks out to pretty close to what the government has budgeted this year for the entire Department of Education in student loan servicing and loaning, roughly close to 100 billion a year. Okay, less than that a bit, about 90 billion on average over the last 20 years. So if the federal government were to go and just all of a sudden say, you know what, we're going to forgive all the student loan debt that's out there. Everybody has a zero balance due statement that's going to come in the mail, and we write it off and we're good to go. In the grand scheme of things, compared to how much money the federal government spends every year, it wouldn't devastate the economy. The government wouldn't go bankrupt. Actually, the government can't go bankrupt. It's impossible for the US government to go bankrupt because not only does it issue its own currency, but all of the debt that the federal government has is held in that same currency. So the US can never, ever turn into a Greece. It's not possible because we print our own currency and our debt is held in that currency. So with that economic principle aside, it's not possible for the government to go bankrupt, and they certainly wouldn't go bankrupt by canceling student loan debt. But I understand that there are arguments to be made against that. And I'm definitely all ears as to what some of those arguments are. I'm aware of them myself. And honestly, I won't say I'm agnostic on this issue, but for somebody that still holds student loan debt, I'm not as firebrand of, write it off as one might think. I'm actually not. I can afford to pay my loans back. They were loans. I understood that from day one when I got them. So I actually have no problem paying them back. But other people are in that same circumstance. And I guess the last thing I'll say about this before I shut up and let everybody else speak is that when banks loan money, now home mortgages, they don't generally do this, and car loans, they don't either. They'll just come take the car. But for a lot of different kinds of loans, personal loans, credit card loans, sometimes what will happen is if a bank has had a person that's had this debt out for a long time, the bank will send a statement to that individual offering to cut him a deal. And oftentimes this happens when it's the point where the person's paid back a lot of interest on a loan, but that principal hasn't been touched much. Bank, it's not uncommon for long-standing credit card debt, for example, for a bank to make an offer. You owe us $10,000. If you send us a check for $7,000 next month, that's it. The debt is retired. We'll call it good because the bank wants its money back. And so it wouldn't be unheard of if we would compare it to, say, private lenders for this type of a setup to happen. And some of the proposals I've seen bannered about between the president and the Congress have suggested not a blanket, retirement, amnesty of all debt, whatever term you want to use, but more like an amount, $5,000, $10,000, however much they decide that everybody would sort of have taken out of the amount they owe. And the other thing to think about too is, unless this type of a thing were to happen, people can't actually get out of paying back their federal student loan debts. They can't. If you declare personal bankruptcy, that doesn't affect the ultimate responsibility that you eventually have to pay those loans back. You can get different payment plans and a forbearance, which is a temporary pause in your repayments, but the loans aren't written off. And then what ultimately happens is, if you haven't paid your student loans off within, I think it's 30 years of when they were first loaned to you, you have to record all your outstanding principal as income. And then you pay tax on it as if it were income. And that's how the federal government finally sort of washes its hands of your debt to them if you've strung it out to 30 years.
So I obviously have thoughts here because I'm way more liberal when it comes to debt than what my partner over here is. So argued with somebody the other day, shockingly,
You
I know,
of all people.
on TikTok over student loans. And I said, oh, absolutely, that 18-year-old kid should piss the rest of their life away on a $50,000 student loan that, you know, they're going to end up paying $300,000 for, even though they can't legally drink, they can't buy cigarettes, they can't buy, you know, a rental car.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get a rental car until you're 25.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
But you can sign up for a $100,000 student loan at 18 when you don't know dick. And, you know,
Go ahead.
so, you know, when I was graduating high school, if I had taken out student loans, the majority of them would have been subsidized. I just had this conversation with Mike. Now, you have two types of student loans. You have subsidized and you have unsubsidized. They set them up originally as most loans would be subsidized. You would take this money out and you would not have to repay it until either you stopped going to school, you dropped below part-time, or you graduated 6 months later, you would start paying.
That's how mine
And
were structured.
interest didn't start accruing until those requirements were met.
Correct. That's why it was subsidized. Yep.
Correct.
And
That's
you know,
the subsidized part.
that's
So-
welcome to being poor people, right?
So my daughter, they've now decided, is no longer eligible for a Pell Grant for this next school year because in 2020 she made too much money. You want to know what too much money was?
$7,000?
In 2020 she made about 23,000.
Really? Damn, she working part-time making great money.
She got unemployment for a lot of that. which
Oh, okay.
Paid, you know, with the, what was it, PUE?
The 900.
Yeah, it paid her more money than she was making, obviously.
Yeah, I was like, man, I didn't think she made that much.
She
Like,
doesn't, but you know, 23,000 a year, they've decided, well, you can afford all of your student
yeah.
costs on your own. Here's loans. Of course, I'm anti-loans. So I look at the award
But
and they'll give her $5,500 in subsidized loans and like 10 grand in unsubsidized. So I told her, you're going to call the finance department. You're going to take them tell them you decline the unsubsidized loans, but you'll take the subsidized. She goes, Dad, you always told me no student loans. I said, I understand what I told you, but we're going to change it to this now because I'd rather just set aside a monthly budget to pay that bill instead of, hey, you're starting a class, here's $900. Hey, you're starting a class, here's $900. Because for me, that's better for my budget. Now, when we look at a lot of these kids that end up with student loan debt, I would say, David, you're probably the anomaly. You went to school, you took out student loans, you graduated with multiple degrees. A lot of the debt out there is acquired by people that didn't finish their degree. Vanessa's a great example. Nick's a great example. They take on this debt, they don't finish their degree, they don't qualify, you know, for whatever job they were originally going for, and now they still have to pay this money back.
Yeah, and that's a really, really important distinction. And if I might, I'll add two things to that the federal government has done that's a lot different than when I was in college and probably when you were too, Mike, because it's been a few years. So now, and I know this because again, I teach at a college and work as an administrator at one too. Students are on financial aid. They have to have a degree or career program path in order to remain eligible for that. So they can't just take classes ad hoc. It has to be part of a career path or a degree path, and that could be a transfer path too. So I work at a community college, and a lot of our students transfer to Michigan State or CMU or places like that, and that certainly qualifies. And the other thing is, and this is even more important, is now students can lose their financial aid eligibility, or at least be in a position where they have to start immediately paying money back real quickly. So if a student signs up for 3 or 4 classes and he's considered full-time, and then he decides not to go to classes after his financial aid money has been dispersed. That's not going to fly. He immediately has to pay that money back. And the reason why the government set it up that way is to avoid students getting in over their head really, really quickly, owing tons of money before they ever even have a clue as to, oh my gosh, I'm going to actually have to pay this back. And because I didn't go to school, I didn't graduate, all of that time that I wasn't in that classroom is not doing me any good. And so those other, I'll call them default factors, because that's what the government calls them, that you identify, Dave, are absolutely correct too. So there's a more of a structured approach now that the federal government is trying to take in still having the money available, but not making it so easy for students to get in trouble with it. And I've worked with college students for long enough now that I know that probably 98 or 99% of them never have any nefarious intent in taking this money and not necessarily knowing what to do with it. It's not that way at all. I'm not trying to suggest students are ignorant, but our society as a whole has challenges in financial literacy, and that is not unique to people that are 18 or 19. And so if you are going to college on financial aid, one could reasonably assume that you did not come from a household that was flush with money. And now you're taking on a huge financial responsibility. Maybe you didn't necessarily have the, talk with mom and dad at one point when you were a kid that a better off family might have had about these sorts of things. And wow, you see all that money? Oh, that's a lot of money. What am I going to do with it? How am I going to pay it back? I think that the government is now also getting better at counseling young folks as to what exactly a loan is. And that's helping too. And the proof is that actually the amount of student loan debt, believe it or not, it's declining now year to year, meaning the growth rate is declining. The peak seemed to have been actually about 10 years ago, 2011, 2012. The annual increase in the amount of student loan debt has been declining precipitously since then.
So, and I think something I want to hit on here is we all had boomer parents, okay? Mike being the oldest here, pretty much in the middle of Gen X, David and I being towards the end of Gen X, and Nick being a millennial. I'll speak for myself. My mother was good with money, but she didn't necessarily understand how to be good with money, as referenced by the fact that she bought fucking grain.
But at least she bought something versus what most people don't buy a damn thing.
Okay,
right?
she bought $9,000 worth of grain. It's worth $1,000 if she's lucky. But I digress.
People normally go buy booze that's worth zero.
It would have been a better investment. At least she would have had some fucking fun with her money. But I can't say I was taught great financial responsibility from my mother.
Fully agree.
I turned 18 and she said, here's $18,000. Don't spend it all in one place.
How's them long distance phone calls treating you?
Oh my God. I spent so much fucking money. And I didn't think about it because I was just going to always have a shit ton of money. And then it was gone.
Yeah.
So I didn't learn how to responsibly spend money until after I filed bankruptcy in 2003. I know Mike's history. He's had ups and downs with money as well. Am I wrong?
No, yeah. I mean, there have been two really big downs. One was coming back from Illinois after, that seizures. I had big medical bills, no insurance. So, all out of pocket.
Yep.
And, just everything that came with the fact that for like that 3 or 4 month period, I had no income because we had a crappy job that supposedly was going to pay us no matter what, that did pay us no matter what. And then, the other one was after one was after my divorce.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't great in between those two, but I mean, I could survive, and I was still saving some money and, everything like that.
Well, and it's not like either Mike or I went out and said, hey, I need to get better at this. You know, I had an interest, so I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to be poor.
Sure.
So let's find a way, you know, to build my wealth. And when Mike got divorced, I said, yeah, it's probably not as bad as you think. Let's look at it and set you on a path. You know,
because you had already turned the corner, right, towards
absolutely,
financial independence.
absolutely. I Mike and I started talking again right after my aunt passed away, so this would have been end of 15.
Sure.
And by that point, I was, you know, on my way to building something.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't set up with those great financial habits that I should have had when I was younger, because, you know, my mom, I don't think really understood money as well as she should have, because she lived in a house that my grandmother bought in 1972.
Yeah.
And it was her and my grandmother and my aunt and fuckface, and they split the bills, you know, a third to each of them. So she didn't really have to worry as much about money as some people would. Like, you had no money.
Right.
Whereas I went to Hawaii every other year.
Right.
And my mother was an RN, so money was never an issue at my house. I never thought it would be.
Can I pop in something?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, and again, my dad, I mean, he was paying for, you know, 4 kids with, it was probably a decent salary for them, but not great, you know. He was probably, you know, when we were growing up, $30,000 to $40,000 a year, which now would be like, oh my God, only that for that many kids. But I mean, at that point, it's probably almost equivalent to what you would make a year, Dave, and your Levian and your, you know, enough to, but I think the big thing there is, and I think, again, it's probably, you know, either the baby boomers or, like, you know, my parents may even not even fall within the baby boomers because they were both born within a couple of years of the end of World War II. So they even maybe whatever that generation before the baby boomers was.
That's my parents the same age. That's the very beginning of the baby boom. And, you know, this makes me think of something.
I was just going to say that I don't think there wasn't this thing about teaching your kids finances. You didn't talk about money outside of, like, you know, the adults. The adults talked money. The kids weren't part of that conversation. At least that's how it was in my house. But it seems to be, from people I talk to, a very common thing that financial discussions were not had outside of the adults.
I think that's still, I mean, I guess millennials probably talk, but it's still a very hush-hush thing, right? And that it pisses me off a lot, because
Millennials talk to each other.
That's about it. But, like, you know, or they bitch about how much everybody else makes or what they don't make type thing, but they don't talk. You know, one thing that pissed me off about my parents for sure was my dad was very like, hey, oh, we have bills to pay. Well, how much fucking do you have in bills, right? Like, because me as a cocky kid, I was going to go earn that and do it. Like, I had to pay my mom's bills, so I had to go earn these types of things. So I understood these things. But, you know, I think parents in general, even still, like, they don't talk about it. Like, I just had this conversation with Emerson, right? We had to go look at a house, and she's like, oh, I don't want to. And, you know, she's like, and I was like, look, do you enjoy doing the things you do? Yeah. And I was like, look, this is how I make the money to pay for that. You, like, I pay you to go do these chores. Like, this, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do in the beginning so you can invest. And, like, I always say that, so you can invest so you don't have to do these later, right? I was like, the faster you learn this, which I get is very hard for you right now, I tell her, I was like, you'll be there someday, right? Like, understand that there's going to be a point in your life where you can choose not to do that. Until then, it's go time, right?
Well, and I want to hear
and I think that's still the conversations we're having. Like, those are the conversations I have with my kids too. It's just, I think growing up, it was all like, we just can't afford it. There was never a reason why we can't afford it.
That's exactly it, right?
So that was like, and that's where I think the shift is happening. Yeah, like, I'm not going to tell my kids exactly what I make.
Oh, really?
Year and X amount that goes to. I mean, right now, I mean, at this, I'm getting close to the age where I think I would.
So, like, I remember one of the biggest things in my life, right? I was living with my dad for the little bit of time, and it was $2 a night, or $2 per person to go into this thing for a school event. And my dad said, we don't have the money to go. I said, like, I just fucking lost it, right? Like, I was a horrible, you know, how did we not have $4 for us to both go. And well, you got these people. And I was like, all right, how do we have $6, right? Like, how? I'll go return pop cans right now. We don't have the gas to get there and this and that. I was like, okay, $10. Like, how do we not have $10? Like, I have to pay these bills. And I'm like, how much do you pay in these bills? Like, teach me so I know. Like, at this point, I didn't know I was learning how to budget, because I'm just like, really? You don't have 10 goddamn dollars to your name. Like, fix your fucking life. Like, now looking back at it, but like, it irked me that we didn't have, he couldn't send me with $2, right? Like, couldn't drop me off. It was one of those things in my life. Like, and there's other examples, but I remember it was only $2 to go to this stupid thing. And finally, like, he got all pissed off and we went and we still ate dinner the next day. We did everything. And I was like, so that didn't affect you, but it like impacted me to where we got to go do something, which is probably why I go do a lot of crap with my kid. Like, we haven't missed a school event, right? Like,
So
but
I know David had a point to make, and I want to hear that in a second here, but I think something that gets lost is we had asked a long time ago, hey, why doesn't anybody want to talk about money? What makes you afraid? And what happens is people are ashamed because
how little they make.
Yeah,
How
well,
little
not
they
even-
make.
not how little they make, how little they understand. So David used the word earlier, ignorant. So everybody thinks ignorance a horrible thing. There's a lot of things I'm ignorant on. Okay,
Yeah, ignorant just means not to know. It's used
Right.
nowadays as a slang pejorative term, but it's ignoramus. So it
Right.
comes from the Latin. It just means you don't know. It's used interchangeably with stupid now, but the two words are not the same.
If you look at like my history for my family, okay, I know a decent amount of the Polish part. I know almost nothing from my grandfather's side on the Irish, and I'm even worse with the Persian. Okay, I'm ignorant. It's not a bad thing. I just don't know. And
Or have the care to learn it.
well, I mean, there was a time I might want to learn it, but I'm 44 years old. I don't live with my Persian family. I don't particularly want to.
Right.
So the need for me to have that information is not as great for me to have, the information on what kind of slap coverage we need to run tomorrow. That's way more important to me than knowing my Persian heritage.
Yeah, and that actually, you guys have all touched on the point, kind of the big point I was going to make, and that is that there's been a theme in our conversation the last 5 or 10 minutes about going without. And one of the things that taking on student loan debt did for me in a way that maybe others it wouldn't, but actually it's one of the things that taught me financial literacy and being, sound with money, being careful with money. And because when I was in my 20s and into my 30s, even when I started to make decent money and had a really good job in my profession and everything, it was still the reality that I had this money I still had to pay back. And that stopped me from going out and taking on further debt. And on a personal level, that was a way that I was sort of forced to be financially responsible and learn not to spend money on things when you still owe for others. But then think about this to steer the conversation back to a more broad idea or concept of what would happen if student loan debt was relieved. So our society is built on consumerism. And it's a discussion for another day, whether or not that's a good thing, but it is. And consumers need money to spend, or they need the ability to take on debt to have somebody else spend the money for them, and then they pay that person back. That's how things are bought. And the more expensive things get, the bigger that application has to become. Well, if you have a big percentage of the population that still owe a lot of money when they're getting into the prime earning years, that they have to spend that money paying it back rather than being consumers, society is economically limiting the amount of activity that's going to happen, because you might have 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people that aren't going to go out and buy a new car. They aren't going to buy a house because they owe money. And the millennials were later to get into the home buying stage of their life than Gen Xers or baby boomers were. And that's a big reason why, because millennials are actually the group that had this huge curve of the, the peak of the parabola, so to speak, of the student loan debt. The amount of student loan debt, as I said, has actually been, the amount of new debt that's being taken on has been declining over the last 10 years. So it's a lot, but it's not growing as much as it once was. That's for a lot of reasons. The millennials, sort of every generation has this big thing or a few big things that ends up impacting what kind of citizens they become, what kind of consumers they become in our consumer society. And for millennials, debt taken on going to college is going to undoubtedly, it already has been, one of those impacting things. But I think the other thing that's going on right now, and I think this is actually the biggest reason of them all, why student loan debt cancellation is now becoming a big political issue, in addition to what I just said about this being a major part of life for the millennial generation, who are now going to be very soon the most populous generation in the country, and will soon have all the voting power and all that good stuff. But the other thing that's going on is a big value shift in our society now. There are a lot less young people that go to college. And part of that is because values have changed. So Dave, you talked about our baby boomer parents instilling certain values in us, whether they realized they were doing it or not, they did. And probably because of all the debt that a lot of millennials took on going to college, they are either directly, and some of them certainly are, or indirectly by observation of their kids, passing on a value of caution when it comes to what we think of the value of a college education is, and is it worth going through what your parents did, taking on all this debt? I think these two big factors, all of which are directly related, or both of which are directly related to the millennial generation coming into its apex of political power, is why now in the year 2022 instead of the year 2012 or 2002 is when we're talking about this.
So, sorry, I want to jump in
No,
real
go ahead.
quick. So I'd like to talk about that. So it's one thing that actually scares me about being me. My daughter the other day, we were talking or whatever, and she wanted something, and she's like, "Dad, you can get it." Oh man, mom just told me she's poor. I was like, "Your mom has the same amount of money I have, right?" Like, and I think we failed as people because like it is mom, mom has her money, and we do have separate accounts, and we talk about that. But it's like I make sure that we have this, but she looks at my wife as poor, and she looks at me as Daddy Warbucks, right? Like, I mean, but it's one thing that scares me because we were talking about it. My mom didn't talk to me about money, right? She was just always fucking broke, but like she was also a very smart woman in the fact that she never, like, she has her first debit card, and it's probably been 2 years. I keep thinking it's been yesterday, but I mean, growing up, we never had a debit card, right? If she didn't go to the bank by 1 o'clock on Saturday, we didn't do anything on Sunday, right? We never did stuff like that. And so it taught me, right, to like slow down, save my money. I was also fortunate that I had older siblings that I'd watch them just go blow the fucking money. And it would take me, like, I remember going to the truck stop because I lived near it. And my brother, like, if we got $1 a piece, right, my brother would go buy a pop and he'd head back. My other brother would do something, and I would go play 2 video games for 50 cents and then buy 2 Little Debbies or whatever. But it would take me, because I'd have an hour into video games, and then I have stuff to get back home. And I've always made my money last a hell of a lot longer because I watched their happiness just be like, and the pop's gone, and whatever my sister stupidly bought. Like, so I and my mom teaching us in the fact that she just never had that. Like, but it scares me because I teach my daughter so different and like, hey, don't let money control your life. Don't let money be an influence on us. Money is not a thing you should worry about. But I also do need to teach her that she needs to earn this money. She needs to get out there. She needs to grind, hustle for a very short period of time. Be smart. We talk about debt, and David, I want to talk about why you still have debt. That is something that's coming up. But I had student loan debt, right? I had $10,000 in student, because I had a half ride scholarship at Davenport. The other half was $10,000. And everybody's like, "Oh, how long did it take you to pay it off?" And I'm like, all right, I made $600 a week because I was working 40, 50 hours a week in my job. I probably took $20 for gas, and like McDonald's was always $1 back then, right? Like, right. So I probably spent $25 a week. And then I just chunked $550 every week at my student loan debt, right? So I was done in 14 weeks, right? Like just boom, there it was, right? I didn't care. Granted, I was very fortunate. My mom let me live rent free for the little bit of time because I had to drive my brother to wherever. But that was the whole idea of it. David, you said you don't like loans, but that's a lie. Like you have car loans.
Yeah, there are certain loans that I have.
Right.
You're right. It's not that I hate all loans, but I hate student loans
Sure.
because of the predatory nature of them. It's the same way I hate ARMS for buying a house.
That's true.
It's predatory. I don't like it. And go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I'll jump in because I don't want to forget to answer your question, Nick, about why I still have student loan debt. And it's actually part of what Dave's getting at, believe it or not. Because I never refinanced my student loans to a private lender, which by the way is where a lot of people get into trouble.
It is.
Every time
By doing it or not doing it? Sorry.
by doing
it.
Okay.
refinancing student loans to private lender is a very bad idea for a couple of reasons. One of which being that if something happens and you fall on hard times, the private lender doesn't care. They'll haul you into court, they'll garnish your wages, they'll do whatever it takes to get their hands on your money. They don't care what your problem is. And sometimes private loan refinancing can do it's not called a lump sum payment, but they have terms and conditions in their loans that can kind of act like it if you're teetering on default. The federal loan program has fixed repayment plans. There's about 10 different types you can get into. And it also has an interest rate that's pegged pretty close to what the prime rate that the Federal Reserve sets is. It's not the prime rate; it's a lot higher than it, but it goes up and down pretty much the same way the federal prime rate does. So it's usually a lower interest rate, and so I never refinanced my debt. That made it easy to keep carrying it. And the first few years out of college, I didn't make much money, so I didn't make very much payments on that. Literally $20 or $30 a month sometimes just to be paying something on it. And so then when it came time to, I could just write a check and pay this off. My thinking was, well, you know what? I could do that, but then I could also save money at a higher rate than what I'm actually being charged on interest on this and pay it off my sweet old time. And then not take a dent in my savings, because again, what happens if I lose my income? Well, the student loan debt is structured such that I can adjust my payments on it. But if I lose my income, I'm going to want some cash in the bank to live off of until I find another job. And so I've kind of balanced that out. And then over the last 2 years, all of the since the CARES Act was signed into law by President Trump in March or April 2020, all of the federal student loans have been in forbearance. Forbearance is not forgiveness. Forbearance means they literally push the pause button. The interest stops accumulating, and you don't have to make a monthly payment. And
Who signed that?
Donald Trump.
Really?
Yep. In the CARES Act, CARES.
I know.
And
trust me.
Here's
Cheeto
here's,
McCocknugget.
but here's the thing, because of the time value of money and inflation now is ramping up, every month that you go interest free without paying that debt back, your debt is becoming devalued. So now you're actually owing less money in terms of purchasing power parity than you were when you borrowed it, because $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, however much you owe in 2000 or $2010 was worth a lot more than that money is now. And because your interest is not accumulating at this point with federal loans, going back to Trump signing the CARES Act into law, you are actually owing less money by not paying it back.
Sure.
It's a very interesting situation to be in, and stuff like this nobody could ever count on when they took the loans out. And not only did Trump sign this act into law, but Biden extended it, 2 times now since he's been president. He's only been in office for, a year and 3 months. So that's what's going on right now.
Sure.
So I rail on the baby boomers a lot.
Yeah, you do actually, which is
I fucking hate boomers. Anyways, I mean, I love my mom, but fuck boomers. Anyways, one of the things that bothers me is they always have, these unrealistic expectations. So they'll sit there and go, well, when I was 22 years old, I could buy a house and buy a new car, and your mom didn't have to work. Yeah, congratulations. It was 1980.
Yep.
It's 2022 now, and shit don't work that way no more.
Yeah, and I don't at all agree with you, Dave, on your assessment of the baby boomers. I have no problems with any generation one over the other, but that statement I've heard said before, and there's a lot of things to qualify that statement with. Number one, far in advance of inflation, property costs a lot more than it used to. So in the mid 1970s, you could buy a 1,500 square foot house in Kalamazoo County for $30,000. Adjusted to inflation, that would be like buying that house nowadays for $180,000. Okay. And the average home values in Kalamazoo County are a lot higher than that now. They are here in Enum County. They're everywhere. And Michigan is like living in dirt poor, cheap property valueville compared to a place like California or New York or even Chicagoland, where the house I live in here would go for like 4 times what I paid for in a,
I think that's what pisses me off about
suburb of Chicago. So there are a lot of different things, Dave. You're correct now versus 40 or 50 years ago. But the other thing is, there's no generation in this country that since World War II has avoided debt. I like to go camping. And when I'm driving up north on the weekends and I see people in their 70s driving the, $60,000 F-250, hauling the $80,000 40-foot RV, you think, yeah, there's some debt sitting in that thing.
Well, they started really pushing debt in the early 80s.
Wait.
And we went from a...
Wait, time out. Where can I find an F-250 for 60? Because, I'm going to pay cash.
Yeah, no. So, they started pushing that instead of paying, what you made for things. So, back then, you had a mortgage on a house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you had a car loan, but it was not, for 7 or 8 years. I mean, we talked about somebody, that has to keep buying new trucks for 8 years of, loans. So like all of you have seen My Family Home. My grandmother bought it in 1972 and she spent about $20,000 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's on 5 acres. It's, 5,400 square feet. It's got 2 kitchens. Nobody needs what that house has.
Well, I mean, you guys needed it.
Well, I mean, we needed it in a unique situation, but nobody right now is looking for a house with 2 kitchens that doesn't split into a duplex. And when you look at that house, I mean, it's not in the Lake Doster community. So, it's on a normal road on the very northern tip of Kalamazoo County. It's worth, probably $350,000. But you have to find somebody who wants to pay for $350,000 for a house with 2 kitchens. Sure. You know what I mean? So it's not like it would be an easy sell. It'd be an easier sell if it was a 3 or 4 bedroom house, that was normal on 5 acres.
Ranch, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could. I mean, it would only take removing some doors, putting up some drywall to turn that thing into a duplex.
I literally think 1 door.
Going
up the stairs.
You need one on both floors.
There is. You can get through the back and you can get through the front door. So
it's just not. It's not a nice split.
Right.
Yeah.
But
no,
CJ,
it's not like the split on the top is not equal to the split on the bottom.
Correct.
Now, when you're when they bought that house, though, see, one thing the baby boomers and anybody who owns property right now absolutely had in common, depending on sort of what part of the boomer cohort they were, was skyrocketing housing prices, partially due to inflation. I think of the neighborhood I live in.
Mhm.
I live right in the city of Lansing. It's most of the houses in this neighborhood were put in between the end of World War II and about 1980. My house was built in 1947. And it's a lovely old brick house. It's one of these, it would be called a Cape Cod if it had dormers on it, but it doesn't. So I'm in the dormerless upstairs of it. And it's a lovely old house. The thing is in outstanding condition. I would now never want to get rid of it because they don't know how to build houses like this anymore. And the property values in this neighborhood, I bought this house 6 years ago, I'm not exaggerating, they've increased by about 60% in 6 years. And this is the city of Lansing. This is not East Lansing. This is not the suburbs. Around here, Okemos and Hazlitt are kind of the upscale suburbs. East Lansing has neighborhoods in it. They're like the better off neighborhoods, say in Portage. And it's not that, but yet the property values are skyrocketing here. And this even predates the inflation that's been, prominent the last couple of years. But my point is the baby boomers had this exact same thing going on in the 1970s. Inflation back then was caused, actually part of the reason why it's skyrocketing right now, because of energy prices soaring that the United States has virtually no control over. Back then you had other things going on too. But my point is, so what happened to that generation? Well, the ones that bought houses in the early and mid 1970s made out damn good, because if they held on to their houses long enough, their wages caught up with inflation, which means essentially if they had mortgages that were 20-year mortgages or 30-year mortgages, halfway through that loan, their loan payments were half of the purchasing power parity they were when they bought the house because of inflation, and their wages caught up with it. Then they could turn around and sell the house for at least twice of what they paid for it, sometimes even 3 times. And probably the same thing's going to happen with people that have bought houses here in Michigan over the last, say, 10 years. If they hang on to them long enough, wages will catch up with inflation. They always do, because otherwise you have riots in the streets, and nobody wants that, because people have to be able to afford to buy loaves of bread and put shoes on their kids' feet. So wages will catch up, and some people end up actually making out pretty good in an economic situation like this. It's not, the best of things maybe for some, but for some people it is. It's unfair, but that's just the way things work.
I think what frustrates me a lot is so like my wife's grandparents, which is before boomers, right? I mean,
Greatest generation.
they paid, $7,000 for their homes. So my wife's grandparents, their first house was $7,000. Their second house, which is a brand new construction, 2 streets over, they just sold it, 2 years ago. They paid $11,000 for a brand new house, right? 3-bedroom ranch over in Wyoming, and they never touched it. Right? They didn't update it, but sold for $140,000, right? And they were just in awe that their house was. And I was like, hey, how much was your payment like when you had a 30-year? And they're like $112. I was like, what? This is insane. So like that's the time will heal that wound of things, right? Like, yes, okay, you think houses are overpriced, you think all this, but like as you said, wages will catch up, because as a landlord, right? As a landlord, I know that I have a set limit because people won't afford it, can't afford it. Like they'll go to specific things, right? New construction things, especially and that's the thing that just bugs me being a landlord, is the fact that people just want everything here and now. And it's like, God, okay, so down in Grand Rapids, they're building 288 units. It's gonna lower that area, because guess what? Everybody wants the brand new fucking thing, and like it'll change things. Sure, you can change that, but like wages, we see wages. I mean, we talk about McDonald's $15 an hour now. Like back when I worked there, it was $7.26 or whatever the hell it was. I
$4.25 at Wendy's.
right, like, so it
That
has
was what
to,
I started out making. You betcha, $4.25 an hour.
it has to change, because otherwise there would be nobody in these areas. Yes, if you want more, go get more, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about that some other time. But, I get the fact that, these people lived in this house for, God, they're 55 years, right? And then all of a sudden it became worth 10 times more than what it is, right? But it took them so long. Do I think in 50 years my house can be worth 10 times more? No. Can I see it happen? Sure, right? I can hope as the person that owns it, but
Yeah, and there's one huge caveat though that I'm going to throw into it. Our people that are alive right now in this country are facing something that no other ever generation in American history has, and that is the prospect of a population that's no longer growing.
it's
And
absolutely true.
And most of the economic growth in the United States over the last 100 years has been because of population growth. More people are more consumers. But that argument aside, talking about property, at first you might think, well, geez, lack of population growth means property values are going to plummet because there aren't going to be people anymore that need to buy the houses. But that would only be the case if population declined. A stagnant population, which is what the United States will have, meaning one that doesn't shrink but doesn't grow, actually usually leads to higher property values permanently, because people do not build new houses because they don't think that anybody's going to be able to buy them, because people aren't having families anymore. So the population is not growing. That leads to lack of new housing units. Houses last a long time, but they don't last forever. So because people are born, even if population isn't growing, kids grow up and need to get a house, even if it's just replacing one that their dad and mom had. There's always going to be a demand for houses as long as your population isn't declining. The supply doesn't usually increase when the population isn't growing. That is part of why right now property values are going up and are going to continue to go up.
Well, and I can say honestly, we're an anomaly here because we're 3 Gen Xers and a millennial. And between us, we have 3 biological children, because I have 0 biological children. David has 0 biological children. Mike has 2 and you have 1. So I know for the most part, I have several millennial friends that have no biological kids, and they're not going to have any because they don't fucking want kids. I know some that are, my age that have no biological kids and they don't fucking want any. And I see this with the women more than the men. The women get looked down upon because they don't want kids. And nobody really says anything to the men. But go ahead.
That's a tough one.
Is it though?
Because again, I'm an anomaly. So I can't tell you how often before having my kid, because I was like, I've always wanted a kid, but if it didn't happen, I was okay with it because I was focused on business aspect of things, right? Like, hey, I need to know where my life is going to be focused, right? Like, I think I've done a very good job at balancing both, but like not perfect, right? But like, I will say the amount of people that constantly either asked me, hey, why aren't you having a kid? Or that said, oh, you'd be such a great dad. Oh, you need to have a kid. Like, this whole, when you having kids, what, that's a constant question, especially to me, right? Like Courtney, I assume she got the same stuff, but like, oh, Nick, no, you need to have a kid. Oh God, you'd be such a great dad. You'd be, oh my gosh, you need to have kids. Like, man, like, wait, like to me, like, holy crap, like, hold on. Like, you know what I need to be a man first, right? Like I need to take care of my wife. Like the number one thing that I married, like, let me get that shit figured out first, and then let me grow from there.
And I can tell you, Mike and I in the 501st, we know several couples, Jenna and Lawrence, Jackie and Adam, Kevin and Christy. They don't have any fucking kids. Yeah, and they get sick of answering.
When are you having it?
When are you having a kid? Because they don't want kids. They don't particularly like kids, and they're not fucking having kids.
No.
But and Chris, you're probably too old for kids.
Oh, absolutely they are, because they're, you know,
Same thing with like Chris and Sarah are probably getting a little too.
Oh, absolutely. Another couple that don't have kids. Sarah,
it doesn't seem like Colin
40.
and his wife are that interested in kids. I mean, maybe they will be because they're only in their early.
Well, yeah, they're young.
But I don't know. I guess I just would
And I
say,
mean, you know, with
And
me,
Dirk and his wife, and
I would love a grandkid, but why do I want one? I got a couple reasons. One, Christmas is more fun with kids.
it's a fact.
Two, I've amassed a lot of cool shit. If Caitlin doesn't have anybody to leave my cool shit to,
It's got to come to my kid.
I don't know what the fuck she's gonna sell like the houses and stuff. If I drop dead,
Mhm.
she's selling that house in Plainville in 5 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
She's not even thinking twice about it.
You'd be proud. Emerson looked at me and she goes, Dad, what's the sign for May the 4th be with you? And I was like, no, like what they taught you was live long and prosper, kid.
Right.
That's the only nerd thing I know. I didn't know there was a sign for
There's
May
no
the
sign
4th.
for
And I
it.
was
there's
like,
no sign.
I was like, call Mr. David. Like, that's all I know. Like, I was like, I'm not a nerd.
And you know
right?
she won't call me because for whatever reason she does not like me.
What's up, Mike?
I'm going to add my points about kids.
Okay, go.
Similarly to kind of what you said. I never really was like feeling like I really was like my life will not be complete unless I have kids.
Sure.
Even
Well,
after like, you know, when David, you know, and I were
Like-
still friends when he and Don were together and Caitlin was part of his life, it was still never like, hey, I need to have kids to be complete.
That's like,
Now that I
that's,
have kids, I
that's great
can't
to hear.
imagine not having kids. But I also am not going to be like with my kids, be like, no, I'm not going to be one of those annoying parents who's like, when are you going to give me grandbabies? When are you going to give me grandbabies?
Well, like what pisses me off now, and like this is on for the world to hear, right? Like we have Emerson, she's 6,
Mhm.
and the constant Nick, when are you having another one? Nick, you need a kid. Like
Thank you.
Nick, you know, blah
That
blah.
drives me nuts.
We have been trying for 5 years to have a second, right? Because like after I had the first, like
Yeah.
you're
You
right.
don't want them too far apart.
I absolutely fucking love being a father, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not that I had a problem with being a father. Mike, I respect you so much for saying that because like it's hard to admit that fact of like without one, I would have been like my wife. It's not like my life would have not been complete. Like I didn't know what I didn't have, right? And now being a father, but like I've been trying so hard, and the amount of people that ask me, and it's just like Jesus fuck, bud. What do you want me to tell you? Like I've been pumping and dump. Like I'm so straight with people, right? I've been pumping and dumping. I've been trying. Like what the fuck do you want me to do, right? Like I literally, hey, my temperature's hot. Like, let's go home. Like, Jesus, man, like, get the fuck off my back for 2 seconds, right? And like,
Your temperature doesn't matter as much as your wife's.
it's hers, right? But like, as I'm saying, she'll call me and just say, hey, like, let's fucking go. And I'm like, pony up, boys. Let's, you know, it's like,
So, I mean, you guys know is that Caitlin is my daughter for all intents and
100% through and
purposes.
through.
She is absolutely my daughter.
she looks like you, acts like you. I don't know
So
how you groomed her that way.
the only reason that I'm sitting there going, yeah, it kind of sucks I don't have a biological child is because my grandfather and my grandmother's line ends with me.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
So my grandmother's parents had 7 kids.
Oh, yeah.
We only are positive 2 came from the 2 of them. The rest, we're not sure who the fuck fathered those children, but it was probably not John Bria. Okay, so those 2 kids, my grandmother.
What do you mean, your grandma? I'm like,
Yeah.
your mom. It's not.
Yeah, Wadaslava or Charlotte, however you know her.
Bratislava.
Yeah. There was her and my Aunt Anna that we we assume came from John Bria.
Sure.
Out of that, my Aunt Anna had no kids. My grandmother had 2.
Mhm.
My grandfather, Art, had 2 kids. These 2 children were my mother and my aunt. My aunt had 0 kids.
Your mom had
Your
one.
My
one.
mom had me.
Yeah.
Or what about our favorite son, Matt?
Well, again, much like Caitlin, not biologically anything. So, I mean,
Dave, what you're describing is what's happened across the whole country over the last 2 or 3 generations, and families have gotten a lot smaller. And again, values in society change. This is a huge social value change. And it's also, to go back to what we started talking about, one of the reasons why now this issue of student loan debt is coming up, because I think people know that it's probably not something the government's going to have to worry too much about in the future. Not as many people are going to be having kids. They haven't. That's part of the reason why not as many people are going to college, because there just aren't as many. Values shift in society has made college not something that as many young people are interested in. And on top of that, a lot of people won't go because it's so expensive. So the debt issue is, I think it's an issue that is, it's probably not going to be with us forever.
No.
Now, the broader social issues, I always think of this when you talk about population. I have a book. I have a lot of books in my house, as you might imagine. One of which is a series. It's a history of England, and the first chapter of the book starts off with the following passage: "If we were to imagine being a Rip Van Winkle and falling asleep on a field in England in 1387, and then waking up in the year I can't remember when this book was written, like 2015, our new world that we woke up into would be utterly shocking to us more than anything for 2 reasons. One, compared to the world we fell asleep in, it would seem extraordinarily loud. Number 2, we would be shocked that there weren't very many children around, so much so we would think that there had been some horrible plague that only killed the children."
No, and it's what's happening. Like, because I look at my family, right? Because my aunts and uncles and all that, my parents both come from 6. I have one uncle that had 6, 7 kids. Like, we always joke and say like fucking 23, but really, like, my grandparents, they only have 17 grandkids or 15 grandkids, 2 now, God, 5 great grandkids, but like, whatever it is, everybody pretty much had 3, right? Because it was 2, 3, 2, 2, 4, whatever it was to equal 15. And so I look at how it's all going down, and I always tell everybody, I was like, dude, if I could have more kids, I would. Like, I'd be the first to admit, if every one of them was like Emerson, I would have 20 kids, right? Yeah. Like, just what a fantastic thing.
They're not going to be like Emerson.
Say, it's easy. I want to go back to this college debt real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Say, because we had talked about the government and kind of what they're stepping in, David. 2 things real quick. One, I'm going to start with my kind of point of this. The government stepped in because back when I was in high school, my teacher was always like, hey, whenever you go to college, there's going to be people standing out there giving you a Frisbee or a free pizza or whatever to sign up for a credit card. Don't do this. Like, he was the only person that probably taught me financial, like, whatever. Right. But now it's illegal, right? The government literally stated you can't fucking poach teenage, like 18-year-olds or college kids, right? But they won't do that for college education, right? No. And
again, that's a debt you cannot get rid of.
David, you had kind of mentioned something, and I kind of want to go back to it, if that's okay. And I don't know if you remember. You said 98% of people take not knowing what's due, or what they're taking, but you said the government's stepping in to make sure that this is happening. Can you kind of reiterate on that for me? How they're making sure that people are getting more educated on their debt?
Yeah, and
thank you.
Sure, and I think the 98% was just me being kind of hyperbole, saying a lot of the young people don't exactly know what they're getting into. What I specifically use that stat as, probably 98% of college students who take out student loans and end up in trouble paying them back. And I'm not saying 98% of them end up in trouble. I'm saying the vast majority that do, it's not because they have ill will. They're not trying to fraud the government out of money. That's what I was getting at. But
Sure.
what I'm to answer your question, that even back 20, however many years ago it was, when I had my first student loan that I took out from the federal government, Central Michigan University, they sat me down in a room. They made me watch this horrible video on one of these little TV VCR combos that the screen on the TV was like 8 inches, you know.
Flickered.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so we watched that, and it was some, you know, poorly produced thing that said, this is a loan. This is not a grant. Loans are like when your parents loaned you money and made you pay it back, or you couldn't take the car to go on a date. I mean, it was literally like that. And the point was trying to be made that this is Uncle Sam loaning you money, not giving it to you. There is a difference. You better know it. And that difference is in this thing called interest. And then it gave you a quick little lesson on what interest is. And there it was. You went on your merry way, and probably not the most thorough loan counseling that they could have ever given somebody who is about to take on thousands of dollars of debt. Nowadays, not only do they provide a more thorough loan counseling, as it's called, to what they call first-time borrowers, but when you take financial aid money, the institution that you are at, you have to be on again, it's either a career path or a degree program. So I'll give you an example. When I first started going to college many years ago, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I just took classes, and they were fun. And I kept taking them until one day I said, oh, I think I'm going to be a historian. And so then I did do that, and I majored in it and got a bunch of degrees in it. And the rest, as they say, is history. But nowadays, if I were in that circumstance and I were taking financial aid, the college would sit me down and say, no, you can't just keep taking classes to take them unless they are part of one of our career paths or a degree granting program that we have, or a transfer program where you have a list of classes, all of which or most of which are going to transfer either directly or as part of a degree program credits at a university that we have a transfer agreement with. Because then the thinking is that that student is already being directed, that's why they call it a path, down a road that is encouraging them to think that your education is something that hopefully you have a plan of what you want to get out of it. And if that plan is something that's going to result in a job, that would probably be a good thing, because then you can pay back the money that the government is loaning you.
And honestly, I think that's surprising for me to say. And it's fantastic that the government's actually doing that. They're forcing this to happen, teaching people, hey, you got to start paying if you don't. Because right now I'm dealing with this with my niece, right? She's a senior in high school. She's fucking weeks away from graduating.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to go to college. She just got
Probably not weeks.
just got a job, a second job. She works in an ice cream shop right now. She's got a second job at Spencer's.
Okay.
$13 an hour. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, to her, that's decent money, right? But like, also who she is as a person, Spencer's is not a good spot for her,
Probably
right? Like,
not, no.
and I'm sitting here like, and she's like, I want to take a year off before I go to college. And I was like, okay, you're in a very, really shitty situation, because like I grew up in that situation. So like, get the fuck out of it.
Yep.
And I was like, just go to school, right? Like, I've never told anybody to take on debt except for her, because I'm like, honestly. And she's like, I was like, what do you want to go to school for? And she's like, oh, I'm really thinking psychology or this. And I was like, cool, like, go for this and minor in this. Like, if you switch them, I don't give a shit. Like, you have a focus, you have a drive, you have a want, just go, right? Just go. And like, if you want to live with me, awesome. Like, I think I'm better than what the hell she's living in. But
Community college is affordable.
Right, but like, and she's afraid, but she doesn't have a license. And I'm like, look, you can do online stuff. Like, there's so many things, and I'm drilling this into her, and I'm just like, so we looked at Baker because like my dream for her is like, hey, go get a degree in nursing and then be a traveling nurse because you're fucking away from psychos.
Yeah.
Just go make a crap ton of money and then come back at me and say, Uncle Nick, you're the biggest prick in the world, but I'm loaded. And like, I want you to throw it in my face. Like, I always want people to throw it in my face, right? Like, but I will say is she needs to get out of where she's at because it's literally just going to hold her down for the rest of her fucking life, right? Like, and she'll never amount to anything. She'll never listen to this. I don't care. She'll never amount to anything more than $13 an hour. Sure, let's say minimum wage goes to 15, but like she will always have that stupid job being the non-popular person that works in freaking Hot Topic or Spencer's. Like, and it pisses me off because she has so much more damn potential in this world, right? Like, things that piss me off about her. My wife and I were just talking about this. She was in honors choir, right? Paid the little bit of money, had to get there. Sophomore year, stuff like that. She wanted to be a singer. I'm like, you know me, I don't like art and I don't like singing. I don't think it's gonna make you a fucking career, but I support the shit out of it, right? Like, and then she stopped junior. Like, I wasn't for me. Oh, my dad's not gonna take me. He's not gonna pay for it. And I'm like, it's the dumbest thing in the world. You can always clean my car because my car is a fucking mess, and I'll pay you $70, right? Like, senior year, here we are.
You'll pay
like,
$70.
Fuck, have you seen how disgusting my car is right now?
I haven't. I might be looking for a job.
But I'm just saying, like, I'll overpay. But I'm just saying, there's like the things that she needs to learn is to get her ass in gear because literally, you and I both know once that, hey, I throw my cap in the air and I go drink that next weekend, life fucking sucks right after that. Like,
yeah, pretty much it does.
Literally, like, sure, maybe through the summer you're okay, but like you everybody fucking leaves you and then they come
Real
home.
Life starts.
They come home for Thanksgiving and they go to the local bar and they all hang out there, and then you'll be like, oh, this is really cool to get back together for like 20 seconds. And then when you start, this is what happened to me, is I got lucky. I was in real estate and kind of doing better than some people.
Yeah.
And people were bragging about how many fucking DUIs they had. And I was like, Jesus, bud, like, I can't do this right now. Can I get another pitcher of beer? I'm walking home and pissing on a fire hydrant, right? Like, but she needs to grow up. And she needs to do it really, really quickly, right? Like, and it just emotionally bothers me so much because I feel she has so much potential. And again, she can earn the money along the way, as you said. So I just looked it up. GRCC, $117 a credit hour, I think.
Yep.
Baker, $368. Grand Valley, $460 something. Like,
yep.
My wife's like, oh, have her go to Grand Valley. And I was like, fuck that. Like, go to Baker, go to Baker, get your nursing thing because there's no wait, or go to CC and just go. What's up, Mike?
Okay. Well, first I'm going to say your point about taking a year off and not doing that is actually a very good point. Because, I sat there, got out of, undergraduate, said, I'm going to take a couple of years off and then try for graduate school or whatever. And 26 years later, I've never taken a single graduate class in my life. I think, Mr. Levian can attest to this, taking time off, and 7 years after graduating high school, he's finally getting his bachelor's degree.
Yeah, so I stopped going to school in 97 and I started back up in 2016. And I mean, I took classes here and there in between, but nothing substantial enough to do anything. And I graduated from high school 27 years ago on June 10th.
Like, I'm going to guess it sounds like for Mr. Seawick, he's probably between high school graduation and whatever most recent degree he's earned. He's probably going to school pretty much consistent.
Well, sort of, yeah. I mean, I had an odd career education path because I had 2 stints overseas in the UK.
Oh, man, you baby.
But I've been to Old Trafford before. It's
so jealous.
Manchester's a cool city too, but not one of the places I went to school at. Anyways, so I graduated from high school. I actually was not really that looking forward to going to college at all, believe it or not. But see, my mom and dad strongly encouraged me to do it. And I'm glad they did, because actually the very first class I took, I was like, I don't want to do this. And then I walked into the classroom and I don't know, it's just like something clicked in my head. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so that was a good thing, because certainly my life would not have been nearly as enriched and enriching as it has been without that education and all the things that it's done for me. And, you know, I have a really good job and a good career right now, and I wouldn't have that without that. But I did not take much time off. No, so I went right to college from high school, you know, the summer off, and then I went to KVCC, Kalamazoo Valley, and then I transferred.
Oh, did you really? Sorry, I don't know if you're allowed to say. You went to KVCC. Is that where you teach?
No, I teach at Lansing.
Lansing, sorry. Yeah, Lansing Community. Sorry. I was like, man, okay, so that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
and so
Well,
then
you
I
don't
went
listen
to,
very much, do you, Nick?
No,
That's
I just know that because he said Kalamazoo. He was mentioning the
Yeah.
housing there, and I always
because
get
I'm
confused.
originally,
That's
Yeah, but
where
he-
we grew up.
Yeah,
we grew
but he
up.
lives
Is
in
Paw Paw
Lansing.
Kalamazoo?
Pawpaw.
Or sorry,
Plainwell.
Plainwell? Is that
So
Kalamazoo?
Plainwell
Yeah.
Schools is mostly in Allegan County.
Okay.
But part
But
of it's in Kalamazoo County.
Yeah, when you hit, you know where the meat market is, and not the meat market, the meat processing
Meat-
plant is there.
Yeah.
Merco or whatever it's called
That
now.
yeah, whatever you call it now. It was Merco when we were growing up.
Packerland, and then it's something else now.
That is
PBS now, just because I still go there once in a while.
that is
now that we have the
basically-
meat market fucking pegged.
that is basically the
That's-
northernmost part of the Kalamazoo County line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So-
I lived in Kalamazoo County. David lived a road south of me.
Yep. And B Avenue. So yeah, so
And I
then
lived in Allegan County, though I
Yeah.
was only like a half mile from,
half mile in. So
No.
we
couple, maybe a mile from Dave.
yeah, not far at all. So, but yeah, so then I got my bachelor's degree, and then I took how long off? A year and a half actually between my bachelor's and my master's degree, and I didn't intend it. I intended to go straight through, but life happens, as the saying goes, and I couldn't for other stuff that was going on. And when I got back, I had more than a couple people tell me, "Oh, you're going to be in bad shape because you know you don't want to take time off." And I was like, "No, screw you. I'm not going to be in bad shape. I'll do just fine, thank you." And
It
I
was like
got
a plan to do it. Like for me, I really was
Yeah.
just like, I want to work for a couple of years and then
Yeah.
I'll do it.
and that's a very important distinction, Mike, because yes, I had the plan to do it. Taking a year and a half off from working was not in the cards, but I did. And then when I got back and I got into my master's, and then beyond that, I had a fellowship, which is really cool because then they pay your tuition.
Yeah.
So
Which
not a
is
bad
nice.
deal.
Which is
Which
nice.
helps.
And that
Um,
helps a lot. It does. And so that added to me, I looked at grad school as like, take it seriously, because if you don't, it isn't doing you a darn bit of good. If
No.
you do, wow, you're going to work out pretty good after this is all said and done. And it's a commitment, you know.
We have a person over here on Twitch. Sorry, I want to read out.
Sure.
This person says, thankful for my parents for pushing me to finish college and have the child, and also for helping me pay off student loans, right? So single mother that's, you know, went to school while having a kid and helping and getting help paying off student loans, right? Like,
Yeah.
You know, and I'm never against anybody getting help like that from family, friends, stuff like that, right? Like, I'm not I'm the first to admit, if you put up on Facebook, like, hey, selling cookies to pay off my college debt, I'm probably buying cookies, right? Like you're to me, you're earning that shit, right? Like more.
And my college debt was owed to my mom. You know, she basically was working a job, and it wasn't, you know, a great paying job, but her paycheck was basically going to put me through college
Sure.
during
Yeah.
the last 3 years. I mean, the first year I had so many, like, you know, scholarships and grants, and, you know, scholarships I'd gotten through, like, you know, the things that Plainwell offered when you were a senior, where I think I was able to pay everything that I owed just from what I had already made from, you know, when I was 16 until I left. But yeah, like junior through senior year, all that difference was paid for, you know, with what my mom made. And then we did. It was a big difference between paying, you know,
Her back versus the bank or the government. Yeah.
Right.
You went to Albion, right?
correct.
Yep, I remember
Well-
that. Yeah, and see, my first 2 years at community college, my first 2 years of college were at community college.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why I went is because I started working when I was 16, and
Yeah.
I always worked almost a full-time job when I was an undergrad. So I
Sure.
went to school full-time and worked about full-time.
Yeah.
I like being busy. To me, it was never an issue. It was like, wow, I got lots of stuff to do. This is fun. And I'm admittedly, I guess, one of those people that you call a workaholic, and always have been. And there's nothing wrong with that. The thing is it made me balance my time and learn how to budget time and use it wisely, which is a good skill to have. But see, my 2 years at Kalamazoo Valley Community College, I paid for it out of pocket with the money I earned working my $4.25 an hour job. Actually, I think by the time I started college, I had gotten some pay raises and was making $6.75 an hour or $7 an hour, which I thought was,
I didn't think I was making that much when I was working at Parker Hannafin over the summers.
Yeah, I mean, you're making $4.25 an hour, and then you're making $7 an hour. You've had a big pay increase, I mean, you're not making quite twice what you used to, but hey, 60% more, whatever.
Right.
So I was able to pay for my first 2 years of college literally by going to the pay window at Kalamazoo Valley Community College, taking my wallet out. They had the actual cardboard, thick paper registration card, handing it to them, handing over my $20 and $50 bills and getting my receipt and just being so proud of myself. Look at what I did. I paid for this. And then that was the other thing. And this is why, honestly, I'm kind of agnostic. I don't really believe it or not, I don't really feel strongly either way about the debt being canceled by the government, the debt not being canceled, because here's the thing. One of the things that made me take going to school seriously was the fact I was paying for it.
Yep.
That made a huge difference. The first day I walked into class there, I sat down, and part of what clicked to me was remembering the week before when I went into that building and paid most of the money I had earned that summer working for tuition. I said, I am going to make darn certain that I got what I paid for out of this, which means I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to do homework. I'm going to ask questions when I don't know them. And I am going to make darn certain I get as good of a grade out of this as I can. And beyond that, advance from here if I want to. And then it was kind of the same thing when I got to university and had to borrow money. It was the same thing. I'm borrowing money to do this. I got to pay this back. I'm not going to be screwing around and blowing my classes off and whatnot. I want to get something out of this. And now I understand, though. I'm certainly not like everybody. Some people that wouldn't be a motivating factor at all to them. It just wouldn't mean anything to them. But some people it does.
No, and it's very true. I didn't if it cost me money, if I actually went into debt for it, like, oh shit, yeah, right. Like again, having my college debt, I just focused on it. Having, if it cost me more than I could afford, I knew it was serious. But going to CC, granted, it was very hard for me because, I mean, God, there was just fights in the courtyard on a constant basis. I had one professor who was teaching math, and he's like, he ended up quitting halfway through. I'm sorry for him now that but he'd be like, all right, 8 + 8 is 43. And you're like, what the shit did you say? Like X bring it over to here. And then all of a sudden he's like, hey guys, just to let you know, I'm quitting. Today's my last day. My wife has cancer. I'm out. And that was like, holy shit. But like, you knew that the past times he just couldn't focus. So it was like, oh man, like I just paid money, but I didn't get, like, you taught me wrong. Like, and so to me, CC was just a fucking joke.
So GRCC, very, very different than Kalamazoo Valley Community College. So KVCC was nowhere near Kalamazoo. I mean, it was in the southwestern area of the area.
Such a ghetto area.
Out in Ashtimo.
Yeah.
So it was really away from most things. And it was probably like going to a glorified high school, except for the fact that, you were on your own. You were supposedly a responsible adult by this point, and you had to, do your own shit. I mean, David hit it perfectly. I started college and I went, gee, I got a 2.2 in high school because I could just show up, sit down, and get a seat.
That's what sucked about college.
And I just paid, let's say $1,000 for 4 fucking classes. I better get a good goddamn grade here because I paid for this.
All I cared about was getting by, because I did, like, to me, in college was so different because I was the lazy student in the fact that, like, in college, right, the professor speaks for, let's say it's an hour, right? And then all of a sudden says, here's your assignment. Where in high school, they're like, hey, we're going to talk for 2 minutes. Here's your assignment. If you get it done, if not, it's homework. And so, like, I would just do it in class, which take me 15 minutes and then 30 minutes of talking. So college was such a culture change for me because I was smart enough to just get it done and then screw around, right? Where now you want me to take an hour and then another hour to do this shit? Like, nah, I'm gonna pass on that one. That's a hard pass for me, right? And then with Davenport for bowling.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't at all speak for the experience of Grand Rapids Community College. I've been there before, but I didn't go to school there. Lansing Community College is it's a very rigorous academic environment for our students, and in a good way. I've had many students through the years tell me that my history classes are as hard, but in a good way, not like tedious work, but challenging as what you would get at university. And that's good. That's how it should be, because the classes I teach transfer to universities, so they should be the equivalent. And, our campus is in downtown Lansing, but it's a very, it's a lot like a kind of like a mini university campus. It's compact. It occupies about 7 or 8 blocks on the north end of downtown Lansing, the main part of it. And then we've got a few blocks sort of on the other side of Capitol Avenue, which is the main road that goes through downtown Lansing. And the Grand Rapids Community College is very old. It actually goes back way before community colleges were ever around. It was started about 1900. And when community colleges back then, they weren't called that. They were called junior colleges. They really were this in between a high school and a college. LCC is born after World War II, and its big development comes after a law was passed in 1966 called the Michigan Community College Act, and it reorganized community colleges so they very much were governed and functioned like universities, although they still obviously have the funding that comes from an intermediate school property taxes, which universities don't, and then they have lower tuition because of that. But the academic environment after that really changed. And so a college like Lansing Community College, most of its growth came after that act. And so we were really a purpose-built, so to speak, school for that. And I actually don't even work at our downtown campus. We have a whole other campus on the west end of Lansing. That's where I work now, because that's where our skilled trades in the corporate training area, which is what my full-time job there is, are located. So we have a really big presence in the area, and it's I think community colleges have always had, going back to the end of World War II, this interesting position of being both the place that people go to get trained pretty quickly for a skilled trade. Nurses, for example, nurses in Michigan almost always have their training because they can get an RN at a community college. If they want to get a bachelor's degree in nursing, they typically have to go to university for that. But then and then skilled trades such as welders and plumbers and auto mechanics and all the stuff that makes society work. We wouldn't have, an economy without those folks. But then you also have people like me that start out at community college for the purpose of, it's my first 2 years of university.
Yeah.
So we're in an interesting place.
Well, and when you look at Lansing and Grand Rapids, for example, they take up residents in the downtown of their area. When you look at Kalamazoo Valley, or even the second community college I went to in Rockford, Illinois, Rock Valley College, they're pretty centralized. Kalamazoo has an Arcadia campus, which is downtown, but for the most part, all of their classes is at one campus.
Yeah,
and
Arcadia is not used for much other than like a lot of satellite.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and they got the museum right by that too, which I think is cool.
The main building is basically a huge building,
Sure.
like
Yep.
a high school.
It's a
would be.
big high school.
You know, and in Rock Valley, I mean, they had like
Education
4,
at
but it was all on one
ABCC.
campus.
No.
I think the education at KBC is better than it was when you were there.
Hmm.
But still, again, I think because it's separated out, it's kind of not the same way you would think about, like you said, Grand
Yeah,
Rapids or Lansing.
And yeah, Lansing's very, I mean, our campus really is like a university campus. We have several buildings. We're not quite big enough that each building has its own subject, although that's not entirely the case. Like one of our biggest programs is our nursing school, our nursing program. It has its own building, the Health and Human Services building. And it's the nursing, dental hygiene, stuff like that is what's taught there. So we're big enough to have that. And when you walk through our campus, it is like being on a university campus. It's because there's a lot of buildings and there's a rhyme or reason to the design, and it's pedestrian friendly. There's a parking ramp, but you have to walk pretty much everywhere once you get there. But it's compact because it's not the size of CMU or Western or what we call around here the Big Green Machine. That would be MSU, which is a whole city.
Right.
So
I say we mentioned earlier, millennials and what they're not buying houses, and they're buying houses later and things like that. I want to kind of touch base on that and call millennials stupid because we are. This idea of van living and bragging about living in a van and thinking, brag about the travel. Don't brag.
Did you share that TikTok with me?
I don't know. Maybe
Or did I share it with you?
I'll have to relook at it, but it's very frustrating, right? Because you're over here living in a vehicle, right? Like, don't think it's cool. Don't think it's an asset. Sure. The price of all vehicles are up, right? Like, no,
But some people have to do that, and they're not sitting there going, "Oh, great, I get to go home to my van."
right. But like the people
it's the difference between being Daniel Norris, who, thinks it's great and he makes plenty of money that he doesn't have to live in a van, but he does.
Mhm.
And then now he's a Chicago Cub instead of a Detroit Tiger.
right.
But then, but then, yes, there are people that it's either that or live under the,
Overpass, yeah.
overpass. I mean, it's
Well, and it's just, but to try to make that the cool thing, it just pisses me off,
Yeah.
right? Like, better your goddamn self above that. And then this pole barn house thing is becoming a big thing. And as a real estate, I don't even know what you call rookie, inexperienced person. I don't want to say I'm an expert. I don't want to be that guy, but I have enough knowledge to talk about. Right, like a novice. Like, pole barn houses is not a great way to go. Like, stop building these fucking things. Stop thinking that it's the coolest thing in the goddamn world. Yes, okay, you have lower taxes, but you can't get approved as a house for it, right? Like, you still, like, the amount of buyers, yes, people want them, and when the economy is great, but like when you go to sell, your shit's valued as a garage, right?
Yeah,
like,
basically.
you're a garage. You have not done the things that you're supposed to. And I get that it's not fair. Oh, it's a 2-bedroom. No, there's no bedrooms in a fucking garage, right? Like, stop saying that this is a thing. Like, oh, it's really cool. I live upstairs. Like, I have a mezzanine in one of my places, right? Like, I absolutely love it. I brag about it. I think it's the coolest thing in the world. It's not a living
and
space.
sell
right?
it as that.
Right. Like, I also have a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that's with it, right? And I think the coolest features of the damn mezzanine, because barns are cool. But stop convincing people that being poor and buying less than adequate
Housing.
I wouldn't say housing, but like adequate investments or things are the cool way to go. Like, you're selling yourself so damn short, and it pisses me off, right? Yeah, go ahead.
so I'm going to put my professor philosophical hat on for a moment. I'll even put a hat on.
Do I have to pay for this?
Is it? Oh, it's a hat. Yes.
Oh yeah,
Lansing lug nuts.
You got it. Of
my
course.
boy.
Hometown team. So I got my Lansing Lugnuts professor hat on. And, this goes back to society's values changing to some extent. And I was joking about Daniel Norris, but some people have a high value in accumulating things. And everybody has a threshold as to how many things they need to accumulate before they consider themselves to be well off. And I think that this is really what I was trying to get at, maybe what you were getting at, Dave, too, that the people that live in a van because that's it, they can't afford anything else, and it's either that or the I-75 overpass, that's a pretty sad situation to be in, and not one most people would want to be in. But people that have, yeah, you know what, I don't want stuff. I mean, I just want to live a simple life. I've got a van, I can feed myself, I've got a place to, sleep at night. What else do I need in life? There's a whole different value structure going on there. There is. And I think that part of the reason why, and we've talked about this, of course, millennials waited to buy houses because a lot of them couldn't afford it. I mean, there's nothing, professorial about making that assertion. It's common sense. But then I always wonder too, before COVID started, and who knows, maybe the turn will pick back up. You had this big movement of people that didn't want to buy houses. They wanted to live like in small apartments or flats and downtowns. Here in Lansing, they've built over the last 5 years, I can't tell you how many apartment buildings they've built here that are, a lot of them are actually condos. So, an apartment you can buy basically. And some of them are right here in downtown Lansing. And the trend, this is something that even up until, I want to say 15 years ago, people thought that, yeah, you buy the $250,000 house in the suburbs around here, Okemos, Hazlet, yeah, you'll sell that thing in 20 years or twice what you paid for it. People would be beating the door down to get in there, and that's how it goes. And then all of a sudden, one day, oh, wow, there's like this whole generation of people that, yeah, some of them are fine with that, but others are wanting to move back into city centers. And that was something that the baby boomers and even to some extent their parents got away from. Society changes a lot in surprising ways, and it always has, and it always will.
Yeah, I gotta say, I grew up in the country, obviously, and my biggest thing was I wanted to live in an area where I could, walk to the grocery store if I wanted to.
Right?
Yeah. Or, I had a 2-minute drive, to the post office or whatever, not a 8-minute drive or a 10-minute drive or a 20-minute drive.
No.
If you wanted to do something when I was young, you hopped on your bike, you rode to your friend's house because that's the only way to get there. But it's not like you're going to hop on your bike to ride to downtown Plainwell, to go shoot hoops or get ice cream or anything like that, because, you're talking a 6-mile ride.
Right. Well, I think the thing that bothers me the most about it is when I watch people sell their vans, right? Oh, I'm selling this van. Yes, it needs some work, and I just don't want to put it into it because I'm changing my life. And they try to sell it as like this real bullshit thing. And that pisses me off because you're just selling to the next sucker. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, and, one girl's like, oh, if you come here and you don't pay me this price, that means you're not serious enough about and taking care of my baby. It's not your baby anymore. Like, right. You're just giving somebody else your wheel-bearing problem that you can't afford because living in your van didn't teach you to save money, right? Like,
I have to ask this. Yeah. I don't know if you'll understand the reference. If you're living in your van,
is it down by the river?
Is it down by the river?
That's a fact. Oh my God. I think I won't know that.
But are you a motivational speaker?
My name is Matt Foley. Yeah. I'm moving in with you guys.
One of my favorite SNL bits.
Yes, of course. But, so like, stop. I need people to stop doing this. Okay, if your plan is to build a barn-dominium and then put a house on it, awesome. Hey, I'm doing this until I can build my 5-bedroom house in the front part of this. This is getting me by. Hey, I'm doing this to get to this point. But like a van, really, I have no fucking idea what you people are doing, right? Like,
suddenly you're gonna hate me then, Nick, because honestly, probably depending on what my kids do when they are out of my house. I mean, not a van per se, but
you're doing an RV.
I may happily, yeah, and I may, with Mr. Levian still has his property down in Plainwell, and his mom is, dead, and he's just owning it and not, letting his daughter sell it yet. I may park my small RV down there, and
got plenty of room.
Which is fine. Like, okay, so an RV is completely different, right? And you're going to be in retirement life, not your building wealth part of life.
But see, that's why I was getting at with values. There are plenty of people, and I think there's even going to be more forthcoming that will not look at a house as a way you build
An
wealth.
asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a place you live.
Well, that's,
And-
you know, it's,
And
we were-
honestly, to some extent, I mean, when I bought this house, building wealth was the absolute last thing on my mind. I didn't care. I bought the house because I really liked it.
100%.
And I wanted to live in the city, not in the suburbs, so I could be close to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can walk pretty much anywhere here. It doesn't take 2 hours. I can actually even walk to downtown Lansing from here in under an hour. It takes about 45 minutes to walk to there, which I think is really cool. And there's sidewalks like the whole way. And
I think I'm going to be
I've-
in Lansing tomorrow. So if you want to grab lunch, let me know.
So
But
so, I mean, so my point is, I didn't want to go out and buy the 5-bedroom house in the suburbs, regardless of if, could afford it or not. That wasn't the issue. It was, I liked an older house that's in really good shape and is in a neighborhood with some character in it and is close to everything. And so people have a lot of different reasons when they go to buy a house and pick where they're going to live.
Oh, I
my
fully
house
agree.
right
Like-
now is strictly because it's in my kid's school.
that's
Yep.
a, so
When I
when
bought it, it was
That's-
exactly the reason why I bought it. I mean,
I didn't
I
have
bought mine.
I didn't
could
have a
been-
kid.
I could have had a bigger house for the same exact price in Kalamazoo. I wasn't going to change my kids out of Portage, but
Sure.
I looked at 2 houses on the same day. The second one I looked at is the one I bought and I live in. But even the one I looked at first, I'm like, I would buy this house, but it was again in Kalamazoo, and I'm like, it's bigger. We'd have a basement, we'd have an upstairs, we'd have a decent yard with a fenced in yard and everything. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to forego this because I want to be 2 minutes from where my kids go to school.
Yeah, and that's when I bought this house. I bought it with my brother, and we met with the realtor, and we're like, so we don't believe in driving more than 3 or 4 miles to work. So
That's something.
this is where he works. This is where I work. Find us a house. And they're like, really? Like, yeah, really. Like, why would you want to sit in traffic for an hour every day?
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Does your brother still live with you? Why is he
He,
never on?
What's that?
Why does he never get on?
Oh, I don't know. I've asked him before, and
Is this
I don't
this
know.
is your twin, right?
Yeah.
Or no, this okay. This
yeah,
is
he moved in with me a few years ago, and then wasn't going to leave, and so we were like, hey, let's just buy a house. And
Just never left.
At some
No,
point, Mike, we need
I say that,
to,
and I mean, it was fine.
at
and-
some point, Mike, when we're not working break room on a weekend and we're together, we just need to make a drive to Lansing.
Yeah, but come on over, Dave. You've been.
And
in
I
the-
I've been there and I miss you
talked
guys.
about
I'm going tomorrow.
Des Moines and DePlaid.
Yes,
Moline.
Disappointment and
Moline.
disappointment. And Dave, I have another Chesapeake Bay Retriever that can
Yes.
sit on your Star Wars boots and keep you warm,
Absolutely.
just like the other one did. This one's a young guy now, and he'll love you just as much as the other one did. Trust me.
Dave does have the best dogs. So I did not share this with you,
Yeah.
but I shared this with my wife. The paper, I'm going to say the paper because I don't know who it was, did an article on this couple that has decided to live their retirement on a cruise. So every time they get off one boat, they hop
go to
on
another.
another boat, and it costs them $43 a day
Yeah.
to live on the
was
cruise. They
just
don't
gonna
have
say
to have a
that would
house. They
be
don't have to worry about
expensive.
food.
Medical. There's medical stuff.
Yeah, everything's covered.
No, that's
For
it's
$43 a day.
Yeah,
so like there's actually
that's
like
their
a bunch,
retirement.
there's a bunch of things about that because there's a bunch of older retired people that's what they do because there's medical on board.
Yep.
There is everything basically that you need on board, and it's cheaper than living in an apartment.
Yeah,
And
That
you
one woman that was in the pool with us that very first
Yeah.
day we were on the boat, she mentioned the same thing. She basically has she lives with her daughter or something for the couple of days she's off the boat, and
otherwise she just hops on a boat and goes.
That would
and
be That'd be interesting.
It
I never
would be.
thought about that, but I guess, yeah. I mean, the price of rent these days, yeah, maybe.
My wife
And-
goes retirement goals.
Well, that's just it. I mean, when you add up food, living,
Yeah.
gas, like the world, you're golden, right? Like,
It is.
okay.
And it's good food, you know, if you,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like it's cheap, you know,
Right.
you're living off of ramen and peanut butter and
Hey,
jelly sandwiches.
What's wrong with ramen and PB&J? Probably gonna go eat both of those tonight just to spite you.
So let's
Dick.
say let's say it costs $50 a day.
Yeah.
And there's 30 days in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Could you live for
1,500
$1,500?
100%.
No, I'm saying in your life right now,
Yes.
you could
Yes.
with your mortgage.
Yes.
Okay.
And my vehicles, my car insurance, everything.
All the food. And
Now, would I have
your
really?
insurance.
Would I struggle at points? Yes.
I know what my monthly bills are. They're not $1,500. They're way more.
But that's that's the whole thing I get to everybody is like people don't understand how fucking frugal I actually live. Now, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be drinking Adesanya mead, right? I wouldn't be
You'd
drinking.
be drinking Paps.
I mean, the free paps that my buddy brought over, right?
Right.
Because I'd be like, hey man, you want to come hang out, bring some beer? Like I have the 99 pack that I got for Christmas, and I still have like I don't know 60 of them or something. But like, it just. Could I do it? Yes. And like that's what people don't understand. It's like that's how my life with my wife started for
Yeah.
years, right? Like people don't understand. When we bought our duplex, every time the first duplex we bought, the first fucking year we literally ate hot dogs and ramen, and people were like, no. And I was like, honestly, yes, you're right. I didn't eat just ramen. I put soy sauce in it and thought
Yeah.
it was the greatest invention in the world. I put peas in it and corn and thought like I was in heaven. All of a sudden we would get hot dogs and I like and people don't
Would you
get
leave a little bit of the crispy noodles and sprinkle them on the top for an extra crunch?
no
Too expensive.
no, not even just that. Like I'd take the
You
water
just
and
don't cook. You take like a little chunk off before you cook it, and
Yeah, and there's
Couldn't tell you
always
the last
a few
time-
pieces that stay in the bottom of the
bag.
package when you dump it into the water.
no,
too.
forget, I'd throw that away. I couldn't tell you the last time I've actually had ramen with liquid. I've only had noodles, but like
I'm
Oh,
44
I prefer
years old and I've never
ramen
had
without
ramen.
the liquid anyway.
really?
I've never had ramen.
Oh, but like, or we throw Italian dressing on it. Like, I can't tell you people how, and people don't believe me. Like, that's the thing that pisses me off
Yeah.
about. And that's why I'm so adamant about this. Like, you can actually do it. Dude, I am fucking this big because I literally ate sodium for 300 days a goddamn year, right? Like, my mom took me out to dinner because she felt bad for the other 5, right? Like, it just 360 days, my wife and I literally hot dogs, ramen, and if it was, again, when I tell you I love Salisbury steak because it was $1, I probably did the 10 for 10, get the 11 for free. Because that was like my gift to myself once every fucking month. Like
So
struggle. Tell people all the time, God, you have no idea what I went through to get to where I am. Like I'm 33 fucking years old and don't have internet. I don't have cable. I don't have. Somebody just posted, one of my friends is like, hey, go through you want to make $1,200 a month, go through your bank statement and get rid of, and see what you pay $10 or $15 a month for and you
yeah,
don't
you
use.
don't pay anything.
I don't own a fucking gym membership because I'm afraid to sign up for $20 a goddamn month.
Uh-huh.
I have more money than most people have,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to put myself out there for that. Like yes, do I splurge on $7 cans of alcohol? Yes, but I pay it and I'm done with it. Like
Right.
it's not like it's a recurring thing. I have zero memberships. My wife has one and I think she canceled it, and it was an Ipsy bag for $10. And I told her, I was like, hey, I will pay you the $120 just because we have fun once a month guessing what color bag that stupid thing comes in. We literally live so frugal.
So I'm talking to the girls the other day at practice.
Yeah.
And this relates to you specifically because I've been craving this for a while.
Ooh, Salisbury steak.
No, definitely not.
Beefaroni.
No. And they're talking, and one of our kids is a vegetarian. I'm like, yeah, my wife's a vegetarian. I could do that, except one thing.
Hot dogs,
Hot
baby.
I've been craving fucking hot dogs for a week.
One of my best friends is Steve. You've met him.
Yeah.
Tattoos on his face.
Yeah.
We were working New Life together, and every day for a fucking month, I ate 67-cent can of beefaroni from Aldi.
Yep.
That was my lunch every day. All of a sudden he came in with a brat and I'm looking at my beefaroni. He was like, God, I can't fucking, and he's like, hey bro, you want a brat? And I was like, hell yes, I do. Like, hell yes, I do. Right. And like, he gave me a brat. I gave him my beefaroni or whatever. And it was like, that was just, all right, cool. Maybe I should switch it up. Maybe I should do some ravioli or something. But like, people don't understand. Like when I tell you can live for $3 a goddamn day off of food,
We
like
did an episode.
like we did, and I did it. It's not healthy. It's not.
No.
It's not. Could I make it healthy? I want to challenge myself now. Like maybe we should do that. Raise some money, and I'll raise money, and I will literally eat healthy for less than $5 a day, for 1 full month, and I'll show people that this is a possibility, right?
As long as you can cook, you can.
And that's just like I'll even do it with the spices because you can get them for 88 cents at Walmart right now for garlic. And but the fact
You
is,
just do, rice. I mean, you get a 5-pound bag of rice for like $4.
right? Well,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
buy
but the
A
problem
big
is
bag of flour, you can make whole grain bread that
Mhm.
will
Ev-
fill you up like nothing for about 10 cents a loaf.
but people will constantly like they'll argue like, oh, the gas to cook it, the water to do this, and it's like, dude, all right, you know what? Don't nitpick this aspect.
It's so much cheaper than the other shit you could do.
Right. Like, don't get me wrong. I just so I went to a taco place in Muskegon today.
Yeah.
I bought 3 tacos, a nice glass of. I haven't had a glass Coke in forever. I did that. And I had some chips and salsa that came free. But like all of a sudden, an officer walked in. He sat down. The waiter and waitress was like, "You taking one?" And like she's like, "No." And I was like, "Cool. I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna change this mindset. I'm gonna change it real quick." Comes over to me, he goes, "Hey sir, anything else?" And I was like, "Yeah, anything you order, just put it on my tab." Right. All of a sudden I have a $30-something tab, and I was like, "I don't give a shit." Like, you need to understand that they're people, they're here for this, like liberal aspect of whatever. Like, Jesus, stop thinking so negative of anybody in this world, right?
So my wife yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm on my way home from the game, and
I'm hoping I have goulash tonight.
technically practice, but I'd stopped to do some scouting, and I talked to Dawn, and she's like, "Yeah, the Chinese place by us reopened under a new name. I'd really kind of like to go."
Oh yeah.
And it's a buffet, and I don't like Chinese buffets.
Where's it at?
It's right across from Meyer. You know that Oriental
Oh,
buffet?
on well, that's expensive. Over on Clyde Park.
It's $18.
Yeah. I'm gonna pass on that hard.
So she wants to go. She's got a 15% off coupon. Blah blah blah. I'm like, fine. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. We can go. And I'm thinking to myself the whole time, this is gonna be a fucking waste of $18. So we go and we eat. It was okay at best.
Sure.
And afterwards, she goes, "Really sad I talked you into this. This wasn't that great." And I'm like, "Yeah, I could have told you that, but you wanted to go, so you went."
Oh, that's fine. Sorry to get on my soapbox, but like, I just get so mad when people tell me I didn't earn what I have or that I'm just this rich piece of shit. Because like you were talking about in the beginning, like, what are these people? And I was like, I have my opinions. I have where I come from. I have what I've been grateful for. Like these.
Well, and again,
if you don't understand where somebody else comes from, exactly. Right. Like,
how many times did I tell the Godwin kids, listen, they think you're thugs.
fact.
That's what they think. That's their perception. You have to act better than them to break that perception.
This is a funny story. So these pants have been sewed in the crotch twice now.
Okay.
Right. Because that's who I am as a person. Right. Like,
because you didn't want to go buy a new pair.
I'm not going to go buy a new pair. Right. Like, my zipper is broken on the side. Oh, the only reason you know about it is because I've pointed it out. Otherwise, like, that's just my mindset. Right. Like, if it's not completely broke and it can't be fixed, like, I'm not going out to spend this money. But like, we're going on a vacation, right? Fuck it, I don't care. Like, Nick has bought some beers. Like, I don't care. Like,
so even though we've divulged way away from what we were originally talking about, so
the whole point is you can pay student debt off quick. Just eat fucking ramen.
So I got a story about that too. So David and Dan came to visit me in Rockford.
Yeah.
And Mike had bought one of these, we're gonna say mini kegs, because it was like yay big.
Yeah.
And they go,
it was like 3 glasses.
yeah, it wasn't very big
Per person or just three in
It,
total?
it didn't hold as much as
It was like a Hefeweizen, but
Yeah.
it was like something. Yeah, it was literally like.
And
Yeah.
Dave and Dan were like, that looks cool. So they buy one. And then they made a lamp out of it because they're handy people.
I had that lamp for years.
Yes.
And funny thing is, I
sold it at a garage sale for 3 times.
No,
the price.
it's a long story, but when I was in I can't remember. I think it was when I was in Germany actually, or when I met my German friend one of my German friends I went and visited over there once. Anyways, I asked him about that brand of beer and he told me a bit about it, and it's kind of funny. I had that lamp I had that for years. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I still have it. I think I might have gotten rid of it, but yeah. It was a keg. I think it was 5 liters of beer, which is, what, a little over a gallon. It was,
Tuesday,
what, 4
Tuesday
liters?
night.
So,
Yeah.
Like a gallon and a third, gallon and a quarter, something like that. And
Oh shit, so that's a pretty decent.
Yeah, it was
that's a little
decent.
bigger than 2 glasses.
I mean,
And
listen,
yeah,
I mean,
depends on-
if a couple people drink it, it's going to last a while. If
Yeah.
5 or 6 people drink it, you're
yeah,
gonna
5 or
get,
6
like,
people, that's it. It's a glass apiece at
Yeah.
most.
Sure.
But it was good beer. I remember that. And yeah. So
I'm jealous I didn't
guys,
get one of
I
these.
have got to
Well, yeah, we're gonna.
Get
I
going.
gotta run here in a minute.
I want to quick give a shout out to Adesanya Mead. The meads tonight were very, very good. David, I'm gonna give a shout out to your beer too. Samuel Smith, way to go on getting me on this organic chocolate
Thank
stout.
you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
yeah, but we
David,
already knew it was good.
Iyengar and Grand Armory, thank you very much.
David, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for
My
all of your
pleasure.
knowledge.
Thank you for having me on.
We love having you anytime.
Yeah, this was
Brewery Vivant, and then I had a couple of cider boys after I finished my other 2.
everybody like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family. We love to talk about this. Sometimes we get on our high horse and love to really get in depth on this stuff.
If we can do one next week, I'm looking at Wednesday maybe.
I'm hoping. Let's do
So,
it.
All right.
So,
Thanks for joining us again. We will talk to you guys soon. Thank you, David, so much. Mike, good to see you again.
Gotcha.
You've dialed in to Box and Brews. You might hear something you can use, like tips under cash or tips on the suds. You're gonna want to use the smarts of these stuff, cause they know the brews, and they know the box, and they know they can't help the stubborn fucks. So listen up, cause shit's not funny, and save yourself some beer money. Bucks and brews.
Bucks and
Bucks
brews.
and brews.
Bucks and brews.